Potholes and Penguins
with Barry and Trimby.
Well, it's not enough. It was never enough. Enough is enough. Well, it's not enough. It was never enough. Enough is enough.
Oh, it wasn't enough. It was never enough. Enough is enough. It wasn't enough, ladies and gentlemen. It was not. It was nearly enough.
It was close. It was very close to being enough.
Yeah. The sultry tones of Hermitage Green's new single, summing up Ireland's performance against Wales when in the last, well, it was 4 minutes into injury time, wasn't it? We had the opportunity, and you know what is worse? We would have scored if that kick had gone to touch. That's what I think. Because I can see into the future for things that didn't happen. And I believe we would have scored. They were rattled.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult to validate that.
Validate what? My comment?
It's are we blaming Billy? Is that what we're doing here?
We're blaming him for missing touch, that's for sure. Which was...
We're blaming Pete.
Well, then we're taking a step back and we're going...
No, not then. First and foremost, we're blaming Pete.
Oh yeah, he's yeah. I'd say okay. So if we're number one to blame, let's start dosing blames out here. Number one,
can we blame Wayne Barnes for not giving Johnny Williams?
I need to see that again. And reason being is that I didn't know whether from those two shots that we were shown, I didn't know whether his shoulder connected with Ringrose's head or was it his head that connected with Ringrose's head.
I agree. I'm not completely sure. Does it matter though?
I think it does. If it's a collision of heads, then it's not.
Yeah, but if you're leading with the head, like surely that's you're just as responsible.
I think he was because he changed direction is the way I saw it.
Who doesn't change direction?
No, as in like Ringrose changed direction.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, they anyway, I don't know what I think about that. I think Pete's is worse just because it looks more like he's kind of tucked it, or he looks like there's a little bit more intent or something.
Remember I was saying a few weeks ago,
it just looks it.
Yeah, I remember I was saying a few weeks ago that Johnny Lacey was telling me that third guy that arrives to a rock a couple of seconds later, even of that was probably 1 second, 1.5 seconds later, their onus is more on them to control what they do because the initial happening at the breakdown is so spur of the moment, and then it's the next person in that can do the damage, and that's what they're trying to stamp out. So, yeah.
Having said that I think Lacey's example he's talking about is whenever there's a target and there's a target and they're still, and then you go at them and you create all the impact from your approach. And Pete did that, but your man, it was Francis, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Or who was it? He appeared late as well. To be fair to Pete, like he kind of rolled over. I think it was Sexton kind of rolled him over, and then he just appeared, and then all of a sudden his face became very vulnerable and got hit hard.
Yeah, look, it was always going to be a red card, and if Pete, obviously he's going to be devastated. That was a tough one to take. It's but fuck, they did well. I was because they hadn't started particularly well. It was more of the same kind of box kicks and a little bit easy to read what they were doing, and all of a sudden, just there was a turning point, and it was the scrum on 33 minutes. I don't know if you remember it in the Welsh 22, I think, and we were obviously down to 14 men, and that was the first scrum where we really held our own and took our time. And I think there was a big carry from James Lowe straight off it. Then Hendy came around the corner, had a big carry, and then Keenan carried hard and North gave away the penalty. Do you remember that? When it went to 6-6. That was their...
Oh, yeah, I do remember North's penalty, yeah.
That was their... Holy shit, this is... that was after they'd kind of controlled about 10 minutes of play, just keeping the ball And then they, off that kick-off low, had the big long kick, and I think he did 2 of them in a row, didn't he? Where they were using that, and they were catching Wales out with that, because Murray was obviously the usual option, and Lowe's 2 bomb long kicks were great. So you're going, holy shit, this is... And Henshaw's break for that try, man.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Henshaw was class, wasn't he? He was incredible.
So then you're going... It was going so well. I mean, you've been there, right? The 14 men win over South Africa. CJ gets sent off after 20 minutes, and that's the only one that jumps to mind. What happens on the field in a moment like that? Because
very difficult.
I was worried Ireland. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think Sexton wasn't there in South Africa, and I think I thought Ireland this time around looked a little bit more organised whenever they went down to 14 men, so they kind of reacted to a lot better. And the example I'm thinking about is the one in the second half, a right hand scrum in round halfway. Henshaw was on 6 on the short side, and who was it? I can't remember who carried the first ball, but then they actually mobilised Henshaw and brought him. He carried the second ball against the green. So it looked like, I assume that's Sexton kind of managing things, organising things, and kind of making up a pattern, basically, or kind of redesignating roles, which I think is really impressive to be able to do that. The amount of rehearsals that go into plays like that, and then just to be able to, have some ownership and redesign that, I think is quite impressive for them to be able to react like that. But there's just so much work out there, and I thought Ireland played so well. I don't think they deserved to lose that game. I thought they were really, really good. It was a big performance, and I hope that they take that. I hope that doesn't upset their confidence too much, because I think the two things, they're playing with 14 men, but also they're playing against a way better Welsh side than we've seen for the last year as well. I thought Wales defended way better. What's his name? The new defence coach, the loosehead
Jenkins.
Yeah, he's obviously had an impact there. Pivac's obviously had an impact with the type of rugby he's trying to play, or they look like a little bit more continuity. They were certainly clinical, but I thought Ireland were so good for so long, and it was so gutting that they didn't get what I think they deserved.
I think they, as well as they were organised, and Sexton would have had a lot to do with that. They obviously had to change things up as well. They had to kind of just play what was in front of them and throw caution to the wind a little bit more. I don't think they would have played that kind of game if that hadn't happened. You know what I mean?
I think they would have. I think they would have played it, yeah. And I actually think it might have been... The mindset might have been that, okay, let's make it a little bit more of an arm wrestle and tighten things up a little bit whenever it goes to 14 men, because if it gets loose, then 50 men will have even more of an advantage. I think just they decided they're going to play like that, and then they just kept it going.
I just think they could have done with that more in the second half, or the first 20 minutes of the second half. I thought, although I know that
it takes so much energy to do it with 15, never mind 14.
Yeah, fuck, it was so impressive. Tyg Byrne was unbelievable.
He's incredible, wasn't he? So many guys played well.
Yeah, Hugo Keenan, every time. He's so good at breaking tackles, like you were saying, like a Springer Spaniel pull himself out of tackles.
He looked more sprightly than ever, didn't he? He actually looked like he's got a new kind of confidence as well. He got on the ball more. He kind of backed himself, and he just looked like his body language was, he just looked like he was happy to kind of slot in and feel comfortable in that environment. And we've seen bits, we know how talented he is, but I don't think we've seen him kind of back himself as much as he did.
No, I thought he was brilliant. I thought scrum was great. Thought the line out was pretty decent. They lost one or two, most notably when James Ryan had just gone off. They lost one, which was, forgive him that one, but they upset the Welsh line out, upset their scrum. Breakdown was pretty good. There wasn't many turnovers. Cian Healy was smashing rucks. When it came to the end, and I can't remember who did get man of the match.
It was Wyn Jones.
Oh yes, Wyn Jones. I was like, fuck, you could have picked 3 or 4 Irish players that could have gotten man of the match. I think if Ireland had won it in the last minute, it would have 100% been an Irish player. gutting. Jesus, when it finished, it was like everyone scattered. That's all. I was there. Oh, gee, it was so. I didn't even want to hear what anyone would say.
It was like the end of an awful funeral or something. They were like, "Oh no, we're out of here. Let's." Billy just left crying on the pitch. You're like, "Oh, don't look at him. Don't look."
Hit the road here. I'm gonna hit the road.
I'll see you later, kid.
Just go over and offer my condolences and get out of there.
I have to go. Dinner's at.
Shake, I'm very sorry for that. Get the fuck out of there.
It's kind of like the end of an opera or something. He was just left in the middle of the pitch, like, everyone's like, "Oh Jesus, this is ugly. This is ugly."
Yeah, Will Connors was that professional funeral goer. Your dad, Dermot's dad, is this professional funeral goer who goes to. He's such a brilliant funeral man, hanging around, directing traffic and telling people where to go and organising everything. Will Connors was right beside Billy Burns for that whole
chief sympathiser, just bringing him a lasagna and an apple tart, a big bat full of curry that he's been cooking all evening.
I don't think Billy wanted it though. I think he just wanted to be by himself.
The world to eat him up and swallow him up.
Yeah. Connors was like, he was almost like defending him, like keeping an eye on his hips. What way's he going? I'm hugging this guy no matter what. Billy didn't want hugged. No. I think he just wanted to go off, kind of skulk over in the corner by himself and just, I don't know, come to terms with it.
After the English match last night, I was there. It's hard not to just do the stereotypical thing and start referencing Braveheart for anything Scotland do. And I put up a tweet of Edward Longshanks when he lifts the head of his nephew from York, who has been beheaded by William Wallace, and he goes, "Wallace has sacked York," and then he ends up throwing his son's boyfriend out the window, Philip.
Yeah.
And I was there, this is Eddie Jones after the match.
Yeah.
But then it was really Paul O'Connell throwing Billy Burns out the window. Is there, where do you stay in Ireland camp again?
Carlton House.
Really have many. It's quite a low.
Yeah, Carlton House. Yeah. It's
quite a low to the ground hotel, is it?
Yeah, it's all. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Any high enough rooms that he can fuck him out? Come up to my office there. I've changed to the 5th floor, Billy.
But there is
the round tower out the back.
We have built a 5th floor, especially for this occasion.
Up on one of those towers that the video guy analysts build. Up to the tower here.
Come up and meet me on top of the scaffolding.
Johnny Sexton
he looks down and it's Mortal Kombat. There's loads of spikes at the bottom.
Johnny Sexton.
Finish him.
Johnny Sexton is Edward Longshanks' young fella. And he's like, I have appointed Billy the chief of my kicking to the corner council. And he's like, I am skilled in the arts of kicking to the corner. Are you, Billy? Fucking, what would you do if you kicked the ball dead in the last minute against Wales? Doing no. Splat. Look, he'd be playing with the Lego this week. God bless him. But yeah,
he was brave. He was brave going into the corner. Johnny made the point, and I think he was right, that if he kicks that 10 meters short of the line, if there's a 10 meter line out, then it's way harder to score from that. So he had to roll the dice. He took a hit for the team there, and he got it wrong. But he was brave to go for it, and he was right to go for it.
That's funny, isn't it? The Irish fans, I'd say, if he'd gotten in the corner and we'd have scored one, he'd be the best ever. And I'd say
he wouldn't have been the hero, though, would he?
No, he probably wouldn't.
No,
yeah,
it would have just been going through the motions, and whoever scored.
I wonder how many people shouted that fucking English around Ireland.
Yeah,
at the end of that match. Yeah. Well, look, it was positive. I think ultimately, apart from those little mistakes, and you can never kind of prepare for what the Six Nations throws up. What a weekend of rugby!
It's class.
I had a ball, absolute ball. Anything else in that match stand out to you, Trimby?
One or two people saying that there was quite a lot of lads didn't have enough game time, but and it shows how I don't know. We talked about this actually. Tag Furlong, for example, about how he's hardly played any rugby, and to put him in there, he's bound to be a bit tricky or a bit risky. He was incredible. He made a massive impact. James Lowe, Hasn't played any rugby either. I thought his kicking was incredible. He covered the backfield well. He carried really well. I think he just was a little bit off the mark defensively. Just looked a little bit rusty. Yeah. But I thought he was really good. Hendy hasn't played much rugby. Hendy was class. You're talking about James Ryan going off. Everybody is talking about James Ryan this, that, the other, and the impact that someone like O'Connell is going to have on James Ryan. Yes, but I think Ty Byrne was incredible, and Hendy I think just was not a million miles off him. And having not played much rugby, I think he did really well to come off the bench and make that big of an impact that early.
Remember Roger saying a few years ago that Hendy could use someone running behind him with a baseball bat, just baiting around the place.
He looked like he had it today, didn't he?
Yeah, maybe that could be O'Connell. You know?
Yeah, but he looked like he was making use of his big, dense, meaty hips today. Whereas sometimes you wonder if those big, dense, meaty hips go to waste. They're big, hollow hips. But he was hurling onto the ball 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
He was class today.
Just sheer weight going over the top of people.
Yeah.
Henshaw, as I said, was brilliant. Ringrose threw himself around the place. Gibson Park came on and I thought did really well. Injected a lot of energy. When you see what Antoine Dupont does to the French side and how much emphasis they put on that, like it looked like Gibson Park was the one making all the decisions, controlling the pace, he was the playmaker for that last 10 minutes.
Yeah, which was I thought he did really well. Antoine Dupont, I wish he would cheer up that fella, you know.
Yeah. I think that the French, let's go to France because we don't really have a huge amount to talk about, and it'll loop in with something I want to talk about, Scotland in whatever part we do them in. The French are so focused on what they're doing for the first time in a long time. I don't know if it's Gareth, what's his name? Gareth Edwards?
Sean Edwards.
Gareth
Edwards is the guy, the Welsh player from the 70s or something.
Exactly, yeah. I think Sean Edwards has obviously a massive influence, but maybe it's that more disciplined, focused kind of, I don't know, the effect that he has on that French team, because you can see when they score tries, when Teddy Thomas scoring tries, when Dupont scoring, they're doing all these magic things. They don't fuck about. They're back to business straight away. That's the difference for me with France at the moment. They want to beat the shit out of teams. They wanted to pummel Italy yesterday. It was they're already dead. Leave them be. We don't care. We want to kill them more. And I feel that killer instinct is what you're talking about there. He could be smiling a little bit more, but he's just so focused. I think we're on track to seeing him become the best player of all time. Whoa. I said it. I've said it. What are you on about?
It's of all time.
Of all time. I'm that I believe in action.
Better than everyone ever else. Ever.
He is unbelievable. And he's only scratching the surface.
I just don't know about
his influence on the game. His basic skills.
I am not saying that he does not have an influence on the game. All I'm saying is he the best player that's ever played the game?
I think he could be. I think he really could be. I think he has that much influence. If he wins a World Cup, right, which France on the trajectory they're going, if they win a World Cup, very good chance they will.
He'll be Will Allison. He'll change the discount code.
Will is a different kind of love. Will is our wife.
Antoine Dupont is just some bird we met.
Marilyn Monroe. Yeah. Do you know the way couples give each other that one kind
get out of jail free
card? Yeah.
I know a guy. He played that game with his wife, and they lived in Edinburgh at the time. And he said, his wife said, "Well, who's your get out of jail?" And he said, "I know, Beyonce or whoever it was." And he said, "Well, who's yours?" And she goes, "Simon Taylor, who played for Edinburgh at the time."
Whoa. Oh. And did he have to agree to that?
Yeah, he was like, "What? The game? It's not a fun game.
He's
It's
over
someone
there.
He lives nearby."
Yeah, I'm actually going out with him tomorrow night. Bumped into him in the grocery store. Very good. Yeah, I think, look, I'm just saying it. If they win a World Cup, if France win the Six Nations this year, it'll, like, he was largely responsible for most of their scores yesterday.
But is he better than Dan Carter? Richie McCaw?
He could be. France win a World Cup.
Johnny Wilkinson?
Easily go on to win a second
Brand
World
O'Driscoll?
There you go. Yeah, they keep naming him. It could be. I said one of the best. Did I say one of the best? Or did I say the best?
I think you said better than anyone ever else.
In any sport, I think you said as well, the best sports person in the history of
really good at swimming and really good at training greyhounds to win races.
Yeah, well, it's. I keep hearing people going, and that's France. I don't think Ireland. We can't. A lot of pundits saying we can't play like that. Ireland, we don't produce players like that, which is so annoying.
Yeah.
That's such a mindset that we're stuck in, that as Irish people we can only play the game in a certain specific way. We have had outliers. Like Brian O'Driscoll was an absolute outlier. He could do whatever he wanted, and it took obviously him to have the confidence to do it. But I think we need to be telling more of our younger players. Like, look at Craig Casey. That guy has the ability to be maybe not as good as Antoine Dupont, maybe not the best player of all time, which is not a bad one to be measuring yourself off. But he's similar ability. Very talented.
I thought today we played a brilliant brand of rugby. Like a nice balance of express themselves, play with good space, with appreciation of kind of identifying that space and then getting the ball into it, and good skill level, but also fronted up and carried really hard. I thought we had a really nice balance. I think the boys played really well today.
Yeah, and you know what? I think you're right. They shouldn't be like downhearted and defeated about that, because it was a really good performance, and 40 men that should take a lot of heart from it. So going into the French game next weekend, hopefully with a clean bout of health. You know, maybe a good few HIAs, wasn't there, in it? So that's a bit worrying. What was Johnny Sexton given
off about? I don't know.
Very
was he given out about the knee that he got in the head, that it was
deliberate?
Don't know. Surely he wasn't. I doubt he was given off that he was being taken off, because he knows, like, he's mature enough to know if you get a clip like that. And you know that, by the way, he didn't even just place the ball back. You know, there was something, like, it made an impact.
Oh yeah, it was, and even his neck jolting a bit. So hopefully we'll have a full side to pick from. Did anyone else go off injured?
James Ryan.
Oh, James Ryan. He'd probably be out if he stayed off. Although they'll do the return to play thingy. But yeah, be good showdown next week. Italy against France. Like, Italy played so well in certain parts, didn't they? Made loads of line breaks. Just couldn't. Their defense was pretty abysmal at times. But a lot of the conversation. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, go on. You go.
Just a lot of the conversation you hear. I don't know. I think it's just lazy journalism. People going, should Italy be out of the Six Nations? Should we replace them with someone else? Shut the fuck up. I always kind of enjoy watching Italy play. Not always. Sometimes they get pummeled, but there was a lot of that game that I enjoyed the other day, and it's I think they're always have something to offer. They're a tough team to play against. I think anyone will tell you that. So that's bugging me. It's a real.
They're a tough team to. I think to be fair, France, they just made line breaks at will, and then thing was, whenever they made those line breaks, then they just scored tries easily. I just think Italy, weirdly, if any team in the Six Nations is used to chasing a game and hanging in a game, it should be them. But they kind of just gave up whenever France made line breaks, got an offload, and then they just assumed, all right, we'll be under our sticks here. I thought they looked a bit watery. They looked okay with ball in hand, actually.
They didn't have I don't think they have the bench. They didn't have the strength and depth. They had 3 or 4 players that come off the bench that just were not at the races.
Yeah, the young fella, the 9, Varney, the Welsh guy.
So good.
He played really well,
Welsh?
didn't he? Yeah, he's Welsh, yeah.
Right. Yeah, excellent player. Very impressed with him. So yeah, interesting.
What are you drinking, boys?
Oh, I'm drinking American Pale Ale APA, courtesy of Boundary Brewery. What are you drinking?
So I'm that's a straight bat you've got there. I'm on
Whoa, that's a new one.
Beat on the Brat. Yeah, it's brand new.
Ah.
It's beetroot.
Is it purple?
And it's tasty. Can you see?
Is it purple?
Yeah,
wow.
can you tell?
It is.
Eat the calypso.
Yeah, some raspberry aid. Like, do you ever come home from like youth club when you're 10 and you got like a wee semicircle of raspberry aid? Did you go to youth club? That must be like a Protestant thing, is it?
No, we did
Absolutely.
U Club, but raspberry aid's a Protestant thing, I'd say.
Oh, I thought it was the youth club was the Protestant thing.
Both are
So Protestant, I don't even know what Protestant is anymore. Yeah, so this is really tasty. I must say, this is good. Actually, this is one of my favorites. So
Okay.
join us, penguins. Go to boundarybrewing.coop/shop. Use the discount code Will Addison.
Wonderful. Give us your silly little bit, and then we'll get into part 2. We've got to dissect Scotland's historic victory over England.
Recently, I've binged watched Schmidt Creek, and now I'm on to the 4th season. I like to imagine an Irish rugby spin-off called Schmidt Creek, where despite being Ireland's most successful ever coach by a long way, Joe finished badly at the World Cup, lost his fortune somehow. We're going to iron out the detail, but I think he took a short position in GameStop. He returned to discover, however, that the only thing saving him from financial ruin was that he owned Larne. The industrial town 20 miles north of Belfast, only known for getting the boat to Scotland and taking your driving test. Joe moved out of D4 and into Larne with his wife, daughter and bisexual son, Johnny Sexton. Joe thought long and hard about how he might monetize his meticulous pronunciation of French and Fijian names. He then launched the first of its kind French and Fijian combined cuisine restaurant, where Joe modelled his role on René from Allo Allo. Shocking timing in hindsight, as loyalist paramilitaries picketed the restaurant. But Joe could always rely on the daily custom of relocated EU officials from Paris crying into their croissants at what their lives had now become because they were living in Larne. Johnny, on the other hand, skulked around Larne like a stroppy teenager, rarely changing out of his Tom Brady pajamas, scowling at random passers-by and giving off to strangers for not knowing their detail. Slowly but surely, the family put Larne back on the map. That sounds like there's to be more. And there was, I just never got round to it.
Schmidt
I'll leave it
Creek.
there.
Oh, so good.
Brilliant.
I love to see you in action when you're writing these things. They're very good.
That's your first
I've got
screenplay, is it?
I've got a lovely routine. Sunday mornings, always go for a bike ride on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Meet my mate at 9, so try and get up about 7, half 7.
Yeah.
And I've got that wee window. I just close the door, lock the door, and the kids aren't my problem.
7:30 to 9. You've got the before your bike ride.
It seems not that much work for an hour and a half's work. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's I know how hard that is to do. Sit down and be creative and come up with something out of thin air is not an easy thing to do. And
Best to do first thing in the morning, though, isn't it?
100% better, way better in the morning, way sharper.
You're not thinking there's nothing else is inputting on you.
Yeah, there's a couple of things there. The Larne thing I found very enjoyable. For anybody who hasn't listened to the Darren Cave weekly pothole, go back and listen to it. Not because we were abusing Larne, but it kind of set a tone. He just mentioned Larne in a slightly derogatory way, and have you seen some of the penguins who've been in touch?
Yeah.
Couple of Larne residents got in touch to encourage us.
confirming.
Yes.
No, you're right. Yeah, Larne's off.
Yeah, and then one guy from Whitehead got in touch. I cycle past Whitehead all the time, and I'd say it is one step up from Larne. But that's all.
That wouldn't be hard. What else? That was very good. what did you combine? Renee from
Oh yes.
Hello. What a show. I
Yeah.
was transported back into being like 8 years of age, sitting in my sitting room watching that show with the funny Frenchman that used the police officer.
Yes. Yeah. I'm actually not. I'm not that familiar with it, but I just
there.
I looked it up.
Yeah. Wonderful. I love Schmidt Creek. I've never really sat down and sat through series of it. Do they all make sense, or are they kind of like Friends where you can watch one-off episodes?
No, they're like Friends, but you can see the progression as it goes on. It gets better and funnier. I love it actually. Me and Anna are rattling through it.
The mother in it, who's the same mother from Home Alone.
She's brilliant.
She's unbelievable. What a character. Yeah, she's very unique. Oh, that's good. We were supposed to support Noah Reid, who's the actor that plays the son's boyfriend. Do you know that guy?
Oh, so it's only now, like halfway through it, that it looks like they're getting together. He was an accountant or something, helped him set up his business. Is that right?
Can't remember.
It doesn't matter.
He's a singer-songwriter. Check him out. He's a brilliant singer-songwriter.
Oh, really?
Noah Reid. Yeah.
The only other thing was mentioned there was GameStop. Have you followed that?
Yes. So Joe lost all his money in GameStop.
He shorted it.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Is it still rising, or is it? I've lost tabs on it now in the last few days.
I
don't think so.
I don't know. Yeah,
I think they always lose. Like they always lose eventually. It's like do you know in X Factor whenever they went, everybody went out and bought the Biffy Clyro original whenever they tried to promote the cover. And it's kind of like sticking it to the man, but they stick it to the man for a wee while, and then it gets really expensive to stick it to the man. And then they're like, stuff it, it's grand.
I don't really understand it, but I've listened to Dave McWilliams' podcast the other day, and he had
what was he saying about it?
He had a couple of experts on who were saying that it'll that the man will win stock. There'll be a big fallout, and it won't be the powers that be. It'll be the poor souls who
lose out,
put all their savings on it, which is unfortunate. But interesting world. I was going to get into stocks. So a mate of mine does it loads on his phone. He's like, this is great crack. And I tried to download an app there, but it was Canadian and it wouldn't work on my phone. I'm kind of glad it didn't.
I bought a few bits in Revolut for the crack. Yeah, it's just fun watching them go up and down. I'm terrified of gambling though as well, so I just did the Revolut.
How's your patio going? How's the hole?
Oh my God!
Digging a hole. Diddly.
Did you see somebody actually sent in a photo of your bare arse as well into the Facebook group?
Oh yes, I did see that.
Some of your best bits in the Facebook group were brilliant this week. That kick that you tried to make where you kicked the ground about 2 feet before the ball. Oh my God.
That embarrasses me so much.
Shit, it embarrasses you.
I find it hard to talk about that.
You look like Annabelle. She's 18 months trying to kick a soccer ball at the moment. She's just falling all over it.
And also the Liam Williams fight as well, that came up as well.
Yeah.
Jeez, it really went to town this week.
So the Liam Williams one though, so someone thought, I read someone said, a bit different to Andrew's explanation. Yeah, it was a different fight. It was a different battering. But that started off camera. He cleared me out for a rock and chinned me. Really, a wee bit of a cheap shot and just kind of got
What do you mean by chinned you now? Just
kind of cleared me out and then just let his elbow kind of continue up and just kind of clip me in the face a bit.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Anyway, I got fired up and I literally chased him around the pitch for 10 minutes looking for him.
So ratty.
Come here,
so ratty.
Like you're holding on to a fish.
Yeah,
such a red mist. Yeah, and then
don't you? It's great to see. I love that.
Yeah,
ratty bass.
And that was the first time. Then that was the next time you met him. Was inside.
That was the next time I met him. Yeah, and then I clipped him, but nowhere near hard enough. And then I swear it felt like the weight of the entire stadium was on me whenever Decky Fitzpatrick was just not letting me get to my feet. I was like, please, Decky, I know you're trying to help.
Well, come here. How's the hole?
Oh, not great. I hope to have an update for you, but it's a bigger job than I expected. I had my friend around, and
Whole expert.
he is the complete opposite of me. So he's very good at this sort of stuff, and he's kind of taken over. So I'll hopefully have an update for you next week.
Okay, I'm gonna. We're getting an extension on our house in the next couple of months, and I was thinking of starting cracking into it myself.
Just for content and see what happens.
Just start digging anyway. Do you know?
Mini digger's the job, but you can't get a mini digger in your
I
backyard.
reckon I could get one down the side. Yeah. Do you? Wouldn't it be great if we've all got nothing to do, right? So you've got a big hole to dig, and wouldn't you? How quick would it be for you to get 4 people? Okay, maybe not in the middle of the pandemic because that's not allowed, but a bit when we're out of like severe lockdown, 4 or 5 of your mates over who just ploughed through that in a day or two. Or let's say we got a load of our penguin steps. How many penguins would it take to build an extension? If you got actually the amount of the expense it costs to build either a patio or an extension or put this, where you could do a lot of the grunt with a load of people,
That's called a mehel, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, it's called a mehel, and it used to happen in country. I remember like when we used to cut hay at home. You round up all the neighbours, and they'd all give you a few hours work, and it goes around, and then when someone else is cutting hay, you go around there and give a few hours work, collecting hay and saving hay, so you get it in and get it saved before the weather changes. It's great crack, like, and you're all just drinking cans above and top of, like, I remember coasting in a tractor when I was 10 years of age, just wheeling it around while there was like 3 or 4 lads firing square bales of hay up into the back of the trailer. Mehel, that's what it's called.
That's great. I'd love to do a bit of that.
Yeah, it's a great upbringing, that.
Isn't it?
Thriving. Drinking cans of cider, 10 years of age.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back with part 2. Potholes and Penguins, 6 Nation shows brought to you by Camille Thai Restaurants. I love a chicken massa, man. Small ones, massive ones. Good mood Thai food when you're dressed or in the nude. 6 Nations on your couch, chili chicken in your mouth for takeaway deliveries. Camille Delicious Thai Cuisine. Sons of Scotland, I am Stuart the Hog.
Stuart the Hog is 3 feet tall.
Aye, I've heard. Steps men by the hundreds. And if he were here today, he'd fool the English with spirals off both sides and put a toji on his arse.
Put it on toji on his arse. Back in his arse.
I am Stuart Hogg, and I see a whole army of my countrymen here in defiance of piggery. A hog is a pig, and from pig you get ham, and a wee ham I am. So what will you do with a wee ham? Will you fight?
No. We'll run, and we'll live.
Aye. Fight. You may die. Run. You'll live for at least a while. But sitting in your sheds many years from now, will you be willing to trade all the days from this day till that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell Eddie the Longwanks that you may take our swine, but I am in fact a wee ham!
Chant!
Cabram! Yeah! Come on, Sandy! I love the Proclaimers! Yay! Gordon's Dragon!
Haggis.
Scotland get their first win in 38 years and in incredible fashion. They were so fired up and completely outplayed an abysmal England in every facet of the game. Was that the best you've ever seen of Scotland, Andrew?
Yeah, I think it was. I think I thought it would fade eventually. I thought eventually it was going to be a little, not exactly like, but a little bit like that Munster-Leinster game. And I just thought eventually England would get an opportunity and they would take it, and then Scotland, then they would just be out the gate and they'd be gutted. But they just kept it going. They were relentless, and they had very little to show for it. They worked so hard for not that much. I thought they were brilliant.
Yeah. Stand-up performances, Stuart Hogg, Richie Gray.
Stuart Hogg has been, how many Six Nations has he stood up and said, no, we're in it to win it. We're in it to win it. And he's talked about how we're not making up numbers. We're Scotland. We're here to win the Six Nations. And every year he's like, it's probably, you were right there. You were right. But
they'll get beaten by Italy probably now at the last straw on this one.
Yeah.
But he was unbelievable. I thought it's so many brilliant moments. I thought Hamish Watson was unbelievable. What's the hooker's name? Taylor, is it? Class. Finn Russell, right? Interesting place in his career right now. So I think just for the fact that he was on the field, it made England approach the game in a different way. I think he represents such madness and randomness that I think you don't know what he's going to do. So they had to, he's capable of doing anything defenses have to play in a specific way to just be so wary of what he's going to do. So it's brilliant, but I don't think he did play very well. And like I was making the point about the French and Dupont and how focused those guys are, my dad pointed out to me that when Finn Russell does that nervous kind of smile that he does when he's kind of being relaxed and stuff, he said that it's a nervous smile. It's not like a complete...
Do you think it's a nervous smile?
I'd never thought of it until he said it, and I was there. That's interesting. I mean, he's obviously incredibly relaxed, and you don't want to, the beauty of Finn Russell is that he goes onto the pitch relaxed, and he's capable of doing anything, and that's where the answer to what I'm kind of saying here is that you can't change. You can't a leopard. You can't change his spots. If you change him, you'll take the best part of his game away.
Yeah.
But I think for him to get to being Lions starting level out half and to play well enough, like I don't think he played well on Saturday, to play well enough to kill off that game, which Scotland really should have. I think he needs to step it up a level. I don't know how he does it, but I think there's something there that's a little bit too loose. That's like, can you kind of get that killer instinct into him? And it could be focus, the focus I'm talking about with the French that Sean Edwards has maybe put into changed in the French environment. Is there something there within Finn Russell that because like if Scotland heading into the World Cup in a few years, if they can get someone like him to grab that team by the scruff of the neck, there's no end to what they could achieve.
I thought he did play well. I thought he played very well. I thought he tightened it up in that he'll always approach the game with the same mindset, and it'll be the mindset that allows him to smile. And I don't think, who knows, but I don't think it's a nervous smile or laugh. I think he's genuinely, he's like, this is how I deal with things. I don't take things too seriously. I just try to go out and enjoy the game. And the thing that he brought to the game that I think was a reflection that he tightened up a little bit or had a slightly different mindset was that he kicked corners more than he kicked short. So we've seen like the joy that Billy Burns gets for Ulster with that short kicking game, and then Finn Russell does it for Racing all the time with Vakatawa hammering onto it and gets loads of space, loads of joy just in behind. But he just changed it up because you don't get that space at Test match because there's less time on the ball and there's just more traffic. And I think he just pinged the corners and he tortured Johnny May. he tortured him. I thought, like, I know if you kick that many times, like he kicked. I don't know the stats, like, but I'd love to
43
know.
times they kicked in the game.
40.
Not him, but the Scotland's kicked 43 times. Which
Yeah,
was,
it looked like
you
he
would think
kicked.
they played a lot of ball, but they actually kicked ridiculous amount.
But they played the right amount of ball, and they threw the ball
totally.
about when they could, when they got gain lines and got go forward, and that's right. Whenever the conditions are right, then you play into the width, into the space, and get the ball into the hands of Hogg. But whenever that's not the case, you can find space in behind, and he just pinged it so low. And I know he certainly put one out on the full, one or two other loose ones. But if you kick as much as him, you're gonna have a couple of loose ones. I thought he showed that he can transition from a really good European rugby player to someone who can thrive at Test match level, Six Nations, and bring a slightly different approach, but still do what he does.
Yeah, I'd be. I don't think he did it as well as I would think he didn't do it as well as you think. I differ with that one. I don't think his execution was quite there. I don't think like that drop goal at the end of the game. What in God's name were they doing there? That was insane.
Was it though?
Absolutely.
It was only insane because it didn't. Because it was ugly. It was unsuccessful.
Yeah, but in those conditions, to fire back a 15-yard pass to your 10 who's standing not far off his own 10-meter line with a set defence line.
Maybe so. 3 years ago, 2018, Johnny in Paris. How many phases did the forwards go through before then? They threw it back to him, and he's in round halfway. That probably looked like an insane decision to go for it. You hold on to the ball, but it's not the same.
They have to win the game. Scotland are winning the game. They've got the ball.
Yeah.
They just want to keep running down the clock for another minute.
But you can't keep running down the clock though, because the ref looks for a chance to penalise you. Someone come off their feet. Yeah, that's what I think. I think there's just as much
pin
risk
it in the
with
corner. I'd be pinning it in the corner if you have to. Yeah, look, they got away with it. It was brilliant. I was so happy to see them win.
Yeah,
What about Eddie Jones running down the steps?
Was he rattled in the press conference? Was he getting a hard time?
I didn't hear it. I was mad to hear it, but I had to put the kids to bed afterwards. I was running around, so I didn't get a chance to see it. I'd imagine so, because he was at his games all week, kind of slagging Scotland a little bit, and just poking the Celtic Tiger. But I love seeing him lose. I love seeing England lose. And they were poor. Matt Williams came out on TV and was criticising Vunipola for being in the pub, or he looked like he'd been in the pub if the pubs are open, because his general condition. He got torn to shreds on Twitter for that.
He did look big, didn't he?
I mean, he always looks big anyway. He doesn't really look like he looks fit, and you've heard him talk before where he hates the gym and he hates doing fitness. He just wants to play. But like, what do you make of England? Were they just rusty, or have they been found out in that their game plan is so negative that, like, there was a couple of shots I saw people put up on Twitter today, screenshots of them having a 7-on-3 and opting to kick because that's their first option all the time is kick, and it's kind of they're starting to get found out a little bit.
Yeah, I think whenever you've got as little ball as they had, then it's probably not a good idea to kick. But Scotland kicked probably as much, if not more, than they did. Or probably more. Yeah, and that was like pretty successsul. But
it's when when and how you kick. It's when you're 7-on-3. Obviously, those players have got to be somewhere. If they're not in the line, they're in the backfield. But yeah, it's where
it shows a bit of a transition that you can't just defend for as long as we've seen England defending and just be really comfortable. Like, it just shows that teams can be creative enough to create space to put defenses under pressure. So then they have to go back and get the ball back, and then they have to decide what they're going to do with the ball. But yeah, hopefully it's it could be a bit of a turning point for teams' mindset. Like, you can't just survive in defence for as long as England have. Like, so yeah, hopefully it shows that those tactics are dated.
Yeah, so if you're picking the lines in the morning, there'd be no English players on the lines test team. There'd be mostly Scottish and Irish, I think, at this point, because of how we reacted to being down 40 men today. But it is interesting to see where, like, the likes of Finn Russell, Johnny Sexton, Owen Farrell, I presume it'll be those three that'll travel as 310s. Is it 310s they usually bring?
Yeah.
Scrum half position is interesting. You know, it's is Murray going to get in there? You know, not a huge amount of competition there at the moment, is there?
No, I thought Thomas Williams was pretty good. What's his name? What's his name?
Davies.
Came off. Davies was pretty handy as well. Actually, those two, the Welsh Nines, as good as James Gibson Park was, they were probably standout.
Don't think Williams' kicking is great. That'd be my only criticism. And then the Irish players putting their hand up. Henshaw, phenomenal. Get him in that Lions team. Is it too early to talk Lions?
It in case it doesn't go ahead, it might be too early.
Bolters. Then you could have Keenan. Could be playing himself into it. Tyg Byrne playing himself into. It's mad. Like, you know, this Six Nations could really catapult a lot of these young Irish players. I'd love to see Larmer getting a little bit more game time. He looked really electric when he came on.
Yeah, things can change very quickly.
Andrew Porter, another one today. I thought he was outstanding.
Yeah, although he was outstanding, but Furlong was so good off the bench.
Yeah,
I wonder if he might start next week.
Nice dynamic again.
Yeah,
having the, you know, either or. All right, is that enough for that?
Yeah.
Take a break and we'll come back in part 3 for our Energy of 4 Powered Provinces of Ireland. Bottles and Penguins is an independent production, and what I mean by that is,
it may sound like we don't know what we're talking about. You might even think Barry's hardly even played professional rugby and Dermy likes hurling. We want you to think that. It takes a lot of preparation to sound this unprepared.
We work very, very hard at what we do, and we want to make this show the best podcast in the world. For just $5 a month, you can help us do that.
Go to patreon.com/potholes and penguins and you can help me make these two fools look and sound even better than I already am making them look.
Welcome back to the 4 Powered Provinces of Ireland, brought to you by Energia. On this week's show, this week's segment, we've got Ross Adair. Ross, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
Ross is representing Ballynahinch, born and bred, not quite, but went there to try and break through. Tell us a little bit about Ballynahinch and why Ballynahinch is so... what's so big about Ballynahinch? Tell us that, Ross. What's so good about Ballynahinch?
I guess I picked Ballynahinch, I guess, because I was so used to Hollywood, very community, family-based club. And I remember being younger as a kid, being mucked up to my eyeballs, watching my dad at Hollywood, then going in, running into the club, whatever, acting the big man. I'll have a blackcurrant cordial and scampi fries, please. And I get that same sort of vibe at Ballynahinch. It helped, obviously, that they were in 1A at the time when I joined, and you sort of had the back three was pretty competitive. You know, Roger McBurney, Chris Quinn, Adam Craig was there. So as a 19-year-old, it was tough enough to try and get into that side, but I obviously wanted to push myself. But I had a really good time there, and I'm still there now, obviously. But community, family-based club, and a decent standard of rugby as well.
So you've gone full circle, Ross. You grew up, obviously you're a talented youngster coming through, playing under 20s rugby for Ireland, under 19s cricket for Ireland. Is that right?
Yeah, it was under 19 rugby for Ireland, and then I did my meniscus in my knee playing for the Ravens in my under 20s year, so I missed out on selection. I tell people it was because of my knee, but I think I was just rubbish, so I didn't get picked. But yeah, under 19, under 13, under 14, or under 15, under 17, under 19 cricket for Ireland as well, so the whole way up that way.
Wow. Cricket is such an alien sport to me.
It is. But once you get going, it's actually quite good crack. The shorter version of the game is better than the longer version, but it's very good fun.
You're really spoon feeding it to him. It's not 2020. It's just the shorter version.
The shorter version of the game. Yeah.
Yeah, we used to play it a little bit when we were kids because a neighbour of ours would have played it. But did you have to make a decision then at 19, 20? Which one you want to do? It
was sort of between, there was Ulster under 20s. We won the Interpros in 2012, and it was that summer. There was an under 19 World Cup in Australia. Now, I'm not sure that, I don't think it was either something to do with me not making the under 19 World Cup squad to go to Australia to play cricket. I had another year at Ulster 20s, so if I did get picked for that tour, I was going to go, but I didn't get picked, so I think that made my decision for me, pretty much. So played under Ulster 20s then 2 years in a row, and then I just played club cricket from then on in instead of worrying about anything professionally.
So it was decision made then at that stage. So you got a development contract or academy contract with Ulster?
No, I was just in the sub academy doing what everyone else was doing, just not getting any money for it.
You got your cap,
so,
didn't you?
It was. Yeah, I got my cap. I think everyone seven glorious minutes off the bench against the Dragons in 2015
in Rodney Parade.
Yeah, Rodney Parade. Yeah, yeah. It was a bit. It was all right. Like, it was good. It was really good. We lost the game, unfortunately. I scored. So it was one to remember.
Nice. Ah, yeah.
But yeah, look, I think it was 230 quid match fee or something. So that's what I got. That was I think I did 3 or 4 years at Ulster, and I think it was 230 quid. I think that's what I got for my 4-year spell.
That sounds like a similar business model to what we're doing with the podcast here, actually.
Yeah.
4 years of podcasting.
The master plan then, obviously at that stage, then you made your decision. It was going to be rugby, and those 7 minutes at Rodney Parade kind of whet your appetite, and you went across to Jersey then, and I assume the master plan was go there, get a bit of game time, prove that you can come back. Like, you're thinking like either come back or go somewhere in a Premiership. You're thinking Gareth Steenson, Ian Whitten. That's the master plan, is it?
Pretty much. I mean the Ulster back three full strength when I was there was all. I think it was all right. It was all right. Like, it was what you Tommy Bowe and Jared Payne. Like, so I'm not sure I was going to break into that. So I was like, yeah, why not go away to the champ. See what I can do. It's still a very good standard of rugby. There's a lot of good rugby players in the championship and have come out of the championship, and a lot playing. There are actually a lot playing in the Six Nations now. Gary Graham was at Jersey, the Scottish back row, playing yesterday. Callum Sheedy came off the bench for Wales today. Kieran Hardy. All those boys have been at Jersey, but yeah, it was sort of wanted to kick on. I felt myself that I could kick on and potentially do something, but the hips sort of exploded a bit, and it didn't really work out. I got my hips done. I was fine, playing fine now. Played for the A's then, when I came back and got fit in November in the Celtic. It was the Celtic Cup last year ish, and I was going to try and get away again, but I think it probably physically wasn't the right thing to do for my body. I'd been through a fair bit of stress, and I'm not sure getting flogged every day for a couple of years was what it needed. Like, so you get one set of hips.
Exactly. Once you're both your hips say no, then I think it's time to move on.
You sort of know them. But yeah, that was the plan until that sort of halted things. But these things happen. Doors close and other things, and doors open then after that.
So Ballinhinch obviously played a big enough. It was influential enough in your life that kind of things went full circle and you came back to Ballynahinch. How then did you kind of reintegrate? And there was a new group of lads, but was it the same kind of club atmosphere and ethos?
Yeah, same old faces, and all the old boys, same old boys that were there before and knew me.
Same old boys, same old jokes, I'd say.
Yeah, it was, but I love them. There's one of the guys, Eddie. Yeah, I do. I actually genuinely
The modern
do.
rugby player.
Yeah, they're actually great. And on the bus trips on the way back from Dublin and that kind of thing, it's the same guy. Always had a few beers. Comes to the back of the bus on our way home and does the same magic tricks every trip, and the whole bus kicks off. We've all seen them 100 times, but they're just the most amazing magic tricks I've ever seen.
It's card tricks, or what is he doing?
No, he does like I don't know. They're I don't want to give anything away because they are special. Like, just in case any people watching this come to Hinch and experience the bus trip, like Eddie's magic is something else and something to look forward to.
That's brilliant. You're top of the AIL currently.
Yes. Yeah, we are. That's the first time we've been top, I'd say, for ever. For
months. For like almost a year now.
Yeah, it's actually still nice to be in 1A. I think COVID maybe has done us a job there, like, but
well, it is alphabetical order, but it's
I know.
it's still, you're there. And what are you at the moment? Are you doing? Is there much you can do together as a squad? You get together Zoom calls, or are you training at all?
Yeah, well, there was the odd Zoom, start of lockdown when this all kicked off, and seeing how each other were, and there was a couple of new boys signed, and we were trying to. It's hard because you usually need a good social to try and get new boys in and amongst it, and we just couldn't do it because of what was going on. We've tried to get quizzes sorted. We've tried to do the rugby thing where we played a few games at the start of the year in the community series, and we've been looking at those videos in groups and trying to talk about things, I guess, as a squad. Or as units, and that kind of, just even to see our faces and hear our voices, but there hasn't been a lot.
I hope at least the community games get back, or that comp get back again in April, May, and
hopefully
you get to have that social, that one massive social where.
I know. I think
magic tricks would be off the charts.
I know. I'll be losing my mind. Like I've seen them for the first time. I'm gonna go berserk at them. Like, do it again. I can see it now.
Yeah, great stuff, Ross. Great to catch up with you. Great to hear.
Yeah.
You're staying safe anyway. Hopefully, we'll all get back to some sort of normal rugby, be it crowds at Six Nations games, or even just getting back to grassroots AIL rugby. You dust off those frail hips of yours and you get out there, stretch them legs.
A bit of WD-40, like, it'll be all right.
Anyway, great to catch up with you, and thanks for coming on.
Cheers, guys.
Man.
Thank you.
Cheers, Ross.
Lovely. We're coming to the end of a long weekend of rugby. Is there much else to do? I put into the Facebook group there that we were recording this evening, and there's been an explosion. There's been 153 comments underneath something about someone giving out about Burns being in the team and the abuse that there's been going back and forth.
They're like a bag of cats.
They're all a bit pissed, I'd say. And there's just people in glass houses slinging stones and a load of madness. But
some awful funny comments underneath them.
Yeah. But my favourite has to go to Tommy Johnston. Tommy comes in way down the list and goes, "Lads, you all need to take a good long hard feckin' look at yourselves. You're all on here slabbering about this one's mistake and that one's mistake. There's hardly one single comment where there isn't at least one mistake. Spelling terrible, grammar atrocious, and don't start me on your punctuation. You bunch of illiterate bellends." Now be nice and stop being dicks. Fair play. I love that, Tommy Johnson. You win. And so there's loads of other comments in there that I couldn't be arsed reading because they're all saying the same thing. Ireland lost. Could have won. Mistakes were made. Sure, we'll go on. We'll go again. We'll go at it. That was great. I very much enjoyed it. We've got Mike Prendergast on the weekly pothole on Wednesday, which I cannot wait for. Racing beat Rogers La Rochelle today, 25-22 in the top 14. Prendy, of course, is coaching Racing, previous Munster player. Who else he played with? Bourgoin, Gloucester. He went through a lot of the whole, like the almost amateur era of Irish rugby as a player, young, very talented player, then into the very professional, successful era, and then travelled around, then went into coaching, and he's just done it all, in my eyes.
It's a very mystical character. I'd say he's got a rake of stories. Like,
he's hilarious, first and foremost, and one of the most knowledgeable rugby fellas I know, and from a great rugby family. Good crack, brilliant coach, so talented. So yeah, that's on Wednesday afternoon. Can't wait to talk to him all about his journey, the game against Raj the weekend, and of course he'll have the inside scoop on what to expect from the French. Trimby, best of luck digging the hole for the rest of the week. Any other plans?
No, that's me.
Cool.
Just hole digging.
Hole digging. I'd imagine you not with a shovel, just doing that thing where you're on your head between your legs, just scooping between your legs, your hands,
like a dog,
like a dog at the beach. And Anna's just standing behind you with a cup of tea. She's covered in all your family, all the kids are just covered in filth. Cool.
I'll have an update this time next week. I'll have an update for the hole. It won't be a hole. It'll be a patio.
Wonderful.
Come on.
Brilliant. Okay, sign up to our Patreon page if you want. Potters and Penguins, patreon.com. Maddie McKnight is doing some scribbling, so we'll have a new cartoon out tonight, maybe another one during the week. And that's all the crack. Party on, folks.
Party
on.